Michael Harrison had built his company from the ground up. At 58 years old, he'd learned that the view from the executive suite didn't always show you what was really happening on the factory floor. That's why once a year he did something his board of directors thought was unnecessary. He went undercover. This particular autumn morning, he walked through the doors of his Cleveland manufacturing plant as Mike, a temporary worker. No fancy suit, no corner office. Just a man in work boots and denim, ready to see his company through different eyes. The floor manager, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, showed him around briefly before assigning him to shadow various departments. "You'll be helping wherever we need extra hands today," she said. "First stop is quality control." That's where he met her. Sarah Bennett was 32, though the tiredness in her eyes made her seem older. She had honey-brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she worked with quiet efficiency at her station. What caught Michael's attention wasn't her work, though. It was lunchtime. Most employees headed to the break room. Sarah stayed at her station, pulling out a modest lunch from a worn canvas bag. Michael, eating his own sandwich nearby, noticed something that made his heart sink. Through the window of the employee restroom, he could see her later, bent over the sink, scrubbing small clothes by hand. A child's striped shirt. Tiny pants. He looked away, giving her privacy, but the image stayed with him. The next day, curiosity and concern brought him back to observe more carefully. Sarah arrived exactly on time, never a minute late, despite the faint shadows under her eyes that spoke of short nights. She worked through breaks, ate lunch in 10 minutes, and somehow still managed to smile at her coworkers. During a water cooler conversation, Michael learned more. "Sarah's amazing," another worker told him quietly. "Raises her little boy all alone. I think her washer broke months ago, but she hasn't been able to fix it. Too proud to ask for help, that one." Michael's chest tightened. He thought of his own daughter, now grown and comfortable. He thought of the choices life forces on people, the dignity in struggling silently. On the third day, he finally spoke to her. "Sarah?" He approached during a break, keeping his voice gentle. "I'm Mike, new here." She looked up, offering a tired but genuine smile. "Nice to meet you. How are you finding it?" "Good people here," he said honestly. Then carefully, "I couldn't help but notice. You've got a little one at home?" Her face lit up the way only a mother's can. "Yes, Tommy, he's 5. Loves dinosaurs and thinks every day is an adventure." The love in her voice was unmistakable. Michael smiled. "Sounds like a great kid. It must be tough, managing everything on your own." Something flickered in her eyes. Not defensiveness, but a weary acknowledgement. "We manage," she said softly. "It's not always easy, but we have each other. That's what matters," he wanted to tell her right then. Wanted to fix everything immediately, but something stopped him. Sometimes dignity matters more than speed. That evening, back in his real office, Michael made calls. He spoke with HR, with the facilities manager, with his head of employee assistance programs. Not about Sarah specifically, about all of them, about what his company could do better. The following Monday, an announcement went out. The company was expanding its employee assistance program, interest-free emergency loans for essential appliances, an on-site laundry facility being installed within the month, increased wages across the board for manufacturing staff, effective immediately. Michael returned to the floor one last time as Mike. He found Sarah at her station, and this time she was crying softly while she worked. "Sarah?" He approached gently. "Are you all right?" She wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I'm just—" The raise they announced. "It's not a lot to some people, but for me and Tommy—" Her voice cracked. "We're going to be okay. I can fix our washer, maybe even save a little." Michael felt his own throat tighten. "I'm glad," he said quietly. "Everyone deserves that kind of security." She nodded, composing herself. "You know what the funny thing is? I've worked here 6 years. Sometimes I wondered if anyone noticed us. If we were just numbers on a spreadsheet somewhere, but someone was paying attention. Someone cared enough to help." He couldn't hold it in any longer. "Sarah, I need to tell you something." Over the next few minutes, he explained who he really was. He watched her face cycle through disbelief, embarrassment, and finally, something like wonder. "Why?" she asked simply. Why do this? Michael thought about his answer carefully. Because my father once told me that how you treat people when you have nothing to gain from them shows who you really are. I needed to remember what work feels like from your side of the desk. And I needed to be reminded that behind every employee number is a person, a parent, someone trying their best. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she said something he'd never forget. Tommy asks me every night if I'm a superhero because I work so hard. I always tell him no, but maybe we're all just doing our best to be someone's hero. Michael smiled, feeling decades younger. I think you're already his hero, Sarah, and you've reminded this old CEO what really matters. The on-site laundry facility opened 5 weeks later. Michael attended the ribbon cutting personally. He saw Sarah there with her little boy, bright-eyed Tommy wearing a dinosaur shirt holding his mother's hand. When Tommy looked up at his mom and said, "See, Mama? I told you good things happen to good people." Michael had to turn away for a moment, because sometimes the view from the executive suite misses everything important. And sometimes, going undercover reveals not just what your company needs to change, but what humanity needs to remember. Kindness isn't complicated. It just requires paying attention, and sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from a 5-year-old holding his mother's hand, believing with his whole heart that the world rewards people who try their best. Michael kept that image with him. A reminder, a promise, a reason to keep building something worth believing in. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to